And if that diamond ring turns blue, Mama's gonna...
Oh, you're back! I've missed you. A late breakfast. Again. I can't quite seem to sleep peacefully, so I just lay in bed all night, and then I get up late.
I know. It's not your fault.
Fried eggs.
I love what you're wearing.
Plain and simple. Your favourite.
Haven't seen this before.
It always brings me back to my childhood. I know it sounds stupid, but the smell of it just creates some images. No, not images, shapes. Some undefined shapes that feel strangely familiar, but you can't quite put a name to them.
That's so nice. Sounds amazing.
The shapes aren't nice, of course, but like I always say, the past makes you who you are today. Remember that.
I'm sorry I haven't talked to you for a while now. I swear I'm going crazy.
It's funny, actually, because it's the cheapest possible thing on the planet. Definitely not something you'd expect from a queen.
Macduff left. Simply fucked off.
Well, you can imagine where that's coming from.
He left for England and left me alone with the kids. Left us to rot in this abominable house.
Being taken care of wasn't an option when I was growing up.
I can't say I'm surprised, to be honest. I mean, with this job, it was only a matter of time. Military wives are always left alone.
That's why it's one of the few things that still reminds me of that misery.
Don't say that. There's always a choice. But there's obviously a strong ego at play with him. Like, you can't win with him. He isn't much better than... Sometimes I wonder what he'd be like if the crown had landed on his head. I mean, not that I would wish for that. Like, I never even wanted it. Don't even really care about it. But I wonder what he'd be like if the roles were reversed. I'm curious if he'd be as ferocious as Macbeth.
Don't let that trouble you.
Well, think about it. The way he's behaving, it's unnatural. The most unnatural crime a living being can commit. The most diminutive of birds will fight her young ones in her nest against the owl. Like, what sort of a monster must the man be to just pack up his stuff and leave?
He'll be fine. Don't worry. He'll be with you soon.
When? When we're all dead? Like in my dreams.
Which one?
I keep having these nightmares, and I'm scared something bad's gonna happen to us.
Okay.
There's blood everywhere in these dreams.
Bizarre.
And there are bodies lying on the floor.
Creepy.
I can't see their faces, but I think I know who they are. They're small, and they lie on our living room floor. They used to bring infinite joy to me, I know that, with their little heads and curly hair covering their beautiful eyes.
Adorable.
And sometimes I just want to stay with them. In spite of how devastated I feel, I wipe away the blood of my own children and I just sit next to them, hoping someone will come and make it all go away.
Me, obviously.
I expect my husband to be there for me, but he isn't. And then I wake up only to realise he's missing from real life too. And all I can do is wait for the same nightmare to haunt me the next time I fall asleep.
I dream about you. I have done ever since I met Macbeth.
I still love him. More than I did when we met. God, He's 15 years older than me, so you can imagine what that looked like when I was 19. It wouldn't have been him if I had a choice. But I knew who he was. So did my father. And that was that.
I met him in front of the church where we both grew up. It was years ago. We were both still kids. I'm sure I've told you the story before of how a lady met her Macbeth. In all honesty, none of us ever really cared about religion, so it makes it all a bit ironic, doesn't it, really? Mutual enemy brought us together. Well, one Sunday, we both separately decided to sneak out of the church ceremony, and we bumped. We crashed into each other. That was it. I think of this moment with a fondness greater than you can imagine.
The first night together, I had Macduff promise that he'd always look after me.
So every Sunday we'd steal away to hunt, to savage, to be kids really. We'd push each other over and I'd end up with lovely bruises that I'd swoon over.
That's all I ever wanted from a husband. To be kept safe and not be abandoned like my mother was.
I guess that was our naive way of showing each other affection. Later, it became a battle of physical, uncompromisable love. It was dangerous how quickly and how ferociously he became obsessed with me. The day I met Macbeth was the day I started to live. And I say that as a fact, without romance, without emotion. He gave me life.
Life is an illusion. Nothing matters. That's what I keep trying to tell myself to stay safe.
That's why it kills me. It kills me that that's the one thing I can't give him back.
Ever since I faced death for the first time, years before, when I saw that poor boy die.
It kills me that that's the one thing I can't give him back.
It was different than with you. We were all kids then, without any responsibilities.
When we married, the one thing I expected the vows and the rings to bring was not love and joy. We had that. I thought it would bring us a child. That's what all the books led me to believe, and the stories, and my own childhood. I mean, not that my parents ever loved each other. I don't think they were capable of such human emotions. My mother disowned me for saying I didn't believe in God. And then I was banned from attending her funeral. I should have told them I was the one who killed her. I'm joking. So I thought that a child was the result of a marriage, and so did he. Not that he ever said it, but I know it's there, the hope that never dies that keeps the two of us going. I'm not sure how long it's going to last though, and that's what scares me the most. He was never one for wanting a big family full of laughing children running around eating homemade cake. But he did always want one little boy. It's not too much to ask, really, is it? Just a little person with an average name, a James or a William, with a button nose.
There was a William in my class.
Something to love. To pat. Something to feed and get angry at.
After lessons, we used to go around the side of the school and we'd go over notes and talk for a bit.
Something to love.
Eventually we started to sneak out and we'd meet up in the woods and talk for hours. He loved my jokes. I still don't get it. Him or the jokes. They were really stupid.
To obsess over.
One night, I was making my way out like I normally would to rendezvous in the woods with him when I was caught.
To own.
I'm really not that sly. I was caught by, of all people, the king's son, Adam. Now, I didn't like him very much, but somehow he seemed to have taken a bit of a shine to me, which my father always encouraged. More money, I suppose.
You can own money. You can own property. God, I even own people's thoughts over me. But you can only ever really truly own your own specimen.
And apparently he'd known I'd been sneaking out for months, so he told me I could either bring him with me or he would tell my father what I'd been up to. So off we went. King's son and a loser girl. Do you know, I'm pretty sure that was the start of one of my terrible jokes.
Or you could make something. Create something from our own bodies. And no one could ever take that. Even if they killed it. Even if they cracked it open and scrambled it, it would still only ever be ours.
Anyhow, it was about a 40-minute walk into the woods. Quite treacherous, actually. There were all these rocky paths and little cliffs that you had to go over. But we made it, eventually. William, the boy I was originally meeting up with, he suddenly appeared in front of me. The first thing he did was complain that he'd been waiting for ages. But he then saw Adam following up behind me. He really wasn't happy about Adam being there, so he got quite aggressive towards him, which then Adam got scared by, and he then demanded that I take him back home. I was so sick of being told what I should do and how I should be that I snapped and I screamed at him that he could either stay here with me or he could go home now by himself.
I want everything that goes with a marriage. I want good sex, and I definitely want everyone to envy what I have.
That surprised him. I don't think he'd ever had anyone stand up to him before. So he turned around and walked away, slowly disappeared into the trees. I stayed in the woods for a little while longer, and then about an hour later I decided to head back. I was walking back, going over a particularly steep cliff.
But I only really need one thing.
I'm still not sure what it was.
I need to become a mother. Whilst I am not a mother, I am not a woman.
Something felt off. I couldn't work it out, but it felt weird. I made my way to the top of the cliff to start making my way back down the other side. And I couldn't see very well, but the moon gave just enough light for me to see Adam lying there.
How do you return a gift of life?
Dead.
With another life? And I can't do that. I cannot offer him a child. We've tried a lot.
I felt terrible. Father was absolutely raging. Well, I mean, of course he was. I killed the king's son, didn't I? I still remember what I said to my father when he just wanted to beat the shit out of me. I mean, he didn't. In spite of everything, he wasn't like that, but I knew he wanted to. And maybe he should have. So I looked at him.
But I would rather kill him.
Lost in time and space, and I said,
I'd rather kill myself. I'd kill anyone before I let another woman give Macbeth a child.
Children die all the time.
I'd kill the child she birthed. I would kill his flesh and blood if it were not also mine.
It's not like the king doesn't have any other kids. I'm not sure what makes me sicker now. The rage in my father's eyes and my cold ignorance.
I would have plucked the nipple from his boneless gums and dashed the brains out.
It's a disgusting thing to say. It really is.
Luckily, I have you.
And yet, in my nightmares,
Always here for me.
the thing that gives me the strength to lie down in the blood of my own children is that
Never judging.
you won't judge, will you?
My little boy.
A product of my imagination.
I could be.
Memory of my oldest one.
My shelter.
I love my children more than anything in the world.
Truer than anything flesh can hold.
But that doesn't make that question in my mind go away.
What is left of me if I lose you?
What would my life be like if I, didn't have you? Didn't have them?
When the earth does shake, dear chicken, the wind doth cry aloud. When the chimneys tumble down, when the soldiers have all cowed, then come you here. Mother's here. And I could, yes,
I used to paint a lot. It was my biggest passion, mostly animals. When Mum and I lived alone, we'd go visit the local farm, and I would just spend the whole time watching the cows and the pigs, the little chickens. Oh, they're all so pretty. Of course, I knew what would happen to them, so I wanted to try and capture them in a painting. And I really enjoy doing that. I spent so much time doing it too. I really thought that that's what I would do for the rest of my life, even make a living out of it. But it didn't work out. I had to grow up and focus on life. I still have the equipment. A box full of pencils and paints, full of colours. Oh, maybe, just maybe I could have, I would have, don't listen to me. The worst thing that has ever happened to me was losing you, my precious little baby. There was never any pain stronger than that. Not a day goes by without the memory of your last breath haunting me.
I won't do it again. Seeing only one line on that stupid little stick. I did it just now. I wasn't trained to cook. I might hurt myself. But I had to do something to get my mind busy. I mean, there's nothing to do in this house. It's a fucking prison. Why does it have to be like this? Why is it? Why is it so unfair?
but the one thing at top of my list is the only thing that'll make my heart sing. Why it's gotta be like this? Today I got the bill sent.
It could have just worked. So many useless. Fucking hell. I deserve this. I deserve this. I showered it with my holy piss, and it announced once again the thing I cannot abide to see.
I haven't had a glass of wine for ages. And by wine I mean the less refined gin. Oh, there are so many things that I'm missing out on. I'm just stuck here, constantly. If only I could travel more. At least to the nearest library. That might be adventurous. Or to a museum. I could spend my days judging other people's art. I think I deserve to be more judging of others, considering it's normally me on the receiving end of it. I mean, like right now, I've got the other mothers watching me constantly, criticising me, how I raise my children, how I put together events and dinners, whether or not I'm fulfilling my role as a lady. There are so many things in my life that I only think are important because their approach makes them so. If my life were different, I wouldn't have that. I would choose what was important. I would think myself important. And my own self-interests and likes and dislikes and hobbies and even what I want for dinner. And you know, maybe it could be better, the sex. I could take my time with it. I wouldn't have to be quiet. I wouldn't have to worry about one of the kids walking in. Maybe I'd have more of a connection to my husband if it were any decent. I mean, I've said, if I really had a choice, Macduff would not be in my life. In fact, I don't think I'd be married at all. I would have a string of random lovers, spend each night entangled with somebody new and then move on to the next person. I wouldn't be dependent on any man. Maybe I'd allow Macduff to be one of them. I do love him. I didn't choose him, but I do love him. I'm complaining a lot, I know. I don't feel great about wishing things were different. Like, this other make-believe life is completely impossible. And if I could have tried to live differently, would I have succeeded in getting what I want? How many people manage that?
I imagine taking one of the Macduff children sometimes. There's plenty of them. Probably wouldn't even notice. Or we could just kill the two of them and take all their children. I'm joking, obviously. When I was taking care of their newborn years ago, I pretended he was you. For that short time, he was just mine. Like a dog on a leash, I cuddled him. I cleaned him, I rocked him to sleep. He couldn't think for himself or speak for himself. He couldn't ask me for what he most desired, so I would decide for him. If I decided it was me who he really wanted for a mother, that's what he would get. I fed him. I did. With my own milk. My body was so convinced so utterly obsessed with the ownership of this child it produced milk for him. The female body is perfect. Men are not perfect, but you can't make a baby without a man. Well, I can't make a baby with a man.
I think a lot of my children, even today, after all these years, I can still sit here and I can talk to them and as if they were still alive. When people pass this way, they're hearing me talking to myself. They think I'm playing crackers. I'm not crackers, I'm just thinking about my children.
It's killing me that I can't give you a body to hold, to feel your skin, to calm you down when you're crying. I would give anything to be able to do that, to watch your first steps, to hear Mum for the first time. I would be so proud of you. I wrote you a speech before my coronation. It felt like I was going to school for the first time, so writing you those words helped me be able to sit on that cold throne and look at everyone in the eyes and smile. Oh, I'll go fetch it. Wait here, okay? Don't go anywhere.
You don't understand, Mom.
I'm not crackers, I'm just thinking about my children.
When 40 winters shall besiege thy brow, and deep, deep trenches in thy beauty's field, thy youth's proud livery, so gazed on now, will be a tottered weed of small worth held. And being asked where all thy beauty lies, where all the treasure of thy lusty days, to say within thine own deep sunken eyes, were an all-eating shame and thriftless praise. How much more praise deserved thy beauty's use, if thou could answer, this fair child of mine shall sum my count, and make any old excuse, proving his beauty by succession thine.
You don't understand, Mom.
I'm not crackers, I'm just thinking about my children.
See thy blood warm when thou feelst it cold. See thy blood warm when thou feelst it cold. See thy blood warm when thou feelst it cold.
Be afraid. That's okay. But if you do get a little bit scared, just scratch your head, then my head will scratch too, and I'll send you magic thoughts. You'll be braver than a lion. Be polite. Your family's reputation is important. Don't be naughty like I was. You have so many years ahead of you. Years of sadness and growth. And this year will at first feel like the biggest of all. Everything will be bigger. The chairs will be bigger. The carpet will smell dustier. The sun will shine brighter. The ocean is full of salt. Now, if all the water from the ocean dissolved, we'd be left with a lot of fish with no home, and so of course we'd have to make a pond. But we'd also be left with a huge heap of salt. Now, if you were to take a little pinch of that salt every day and throw it behind your back, you would never be able to find those grains of salt ever again. Now imagine all the memories and all the days you're about to live as those grains of salt. Before you, they seem huge. But as you live them each day, the grains of salt begin to soften and disappear. So just take every day with a pinch of salt, and you'll be fine.
In spite of everything, I suppose I have at least, outwardly, made a success of myself in this life.
You'll never be real, will you?
I have children that are all doing great, and they do love me.
No matter how much I want you,
I receive unconditional love, which is something that I haven't had for a long time.
my little boy.
I just wish it wasn't so lifeless, so set in stone. If I could have chosen my path, then maybe I'd be able to see the colour in things. That would
When
be
I
nice.
grow up, I want to be.
To see colour again.
To bed. To bed.
Just like you.
Lie the little baby washed up on the shore.
Lie
the little baby washed up on the shore. Still the little baby, still the little baby, still the wild baby, blowing wild baby, blowing in his baby, blowing heaven's home. Boy, blow, boy, blow, the little baby.
Bring back my body to me.
Lie the little baby washed up on the shore.